Thank you, Chairman Wicker, Ranking Member Reed, and members of this committee for considering my nomination to be Undersecretary of the Department of the Air Force. I'm grateful for the opportunity and for the trust of President Trump. To the many troops, men and women, both uniformed and civilian, who have expressed overwhelming support for me, thank you. To those listening who have served or who presently serve, you have my gratitude. I wish to acknowledge and thank my friends and family for their support, some of whom are here today, including my parents. I'd especially like to acknowledge and thank my wife, Sarah, who is here. What a blessing it is for a man who personally cares deeply about the Air Force core values of integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do, to live with a wife who likewise believes in and embodies those values. Furthermore, she, more than anyone else, knows that I strive to be a man of integrity, and that I hope to inspire others to live in that same spirit. The Undersecretary of the Air Force is, by law, the Chief Management Officer of the Department of the Air Force. My breadth of experience serving in both the Air and Space Forces makes me uniquely qualified for the job at this pivotal time in American history, a time in which we face very serious threats to our national security. Even before receiving my commission, while still a cadet at the United States Air Force Academy 20 years ago, I began to become aware of the threats we face when I participated in a special exchange program to China that we no longer have. The United States government sent a small contingent of Mandarin-speaking Air Force cadets to the People's Liberation Army Air Force Academy in Changchun, China. It's north of North Korea. For a brief cold stint in March of 2005, I lived in the dorms with PLAF cadets, attended their classes, even aeronautical engineering, did PT with those cadets in the snow, ate in their chow hall, and was wittingly placed on a losing basketball team so that they could film our crushing defeat in front of their entire cadet body, no doubt for distribution in state media. Most U.S. Air Force Academy cadets know what I mean when I say there's no better view of the Air Force Academy than in the rearview mirror. But after spending time at the Chinese Air Force Academy, returning to USAFA was a treat. Later, after graduating and receiving a commission from the Air Force Academy, I finished pilot training and became a T-38 instructor pilot, where I taught future fighter pilots for both the United States and our foreign mission partners. I then flew F-15Cs out of Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan. That assignment served as yet another reminder to me of the threat posed by the PRC to our allies and our strategic partners, as well as to our own economic prosperity and military interests at home and abroad. I am keenly aware of that threat, and I understand the need for ready air and space forces, well-trained and equipped to meet the China challenge, to deter any aggression and, if needed, to defeat that aggression. Following my time in the cockpit, I transferred to what was then Air Force Space Command and provided strategic and theater missile warning for the United States and our allies. When the Space Force was subsequently created, I was entrusted with command of that same mission, leading a combined operation of U.S. and allied partners in control of our nation's $18 billion space-based missile warning architecture. I share that background to make this point. I speak the language of both the Air Force and the Space Force. I am air-minded and space-minded. I understand the necessity of United States superiority in both of those warfighting domains. Space, in particular, is a strategic domain. It is a theater where we pursue many objectives and where the United States must prevail. Space is necessarily also an operational domain because our ability to access and use space is a vital national interest. Despite my background, I've been startled by just how much has changed and developed technologically since I left active duty just shy of 4 years ago. My surprise is evidence of the dynamic and rapidly evolving threat environment mentioned here several weeks ago by Dr. Troy Mink. Combatant commanders are calling for more air and space power capacity, not less. I'm persuaded that if confirmed, I must be a strong advocate for a larger and better funded Department of the Air Force. Every single national security option the President needs is underpinned by air and space power. The President has nominated me for this important position with the trust that I will be a driving force behind a culture of integrity in the Department of the Air Force. This includes eliminating all unnecessary distractions and enabling military members to focus on their mission. Secretary Hegseth has said his priorities include restoring the warrior ethos and a focus on warfighting, rebuilding the military, and reestablishing deterrence. I am firmly aligned with those priorities and there are unique ways in which they must be accomplished in the Air and Space Forces. If confirmed, all of my efforts will be nested within that framework. Thank you, and I look forward to taking your questions.